I'm a proud product of the modern worship movement, a movement that began in the 1970s with people like Chuck Smith at Calvary Chapel, who was welcoming hippies and their guitars into the church. And he did this as a way of helping other counterculturals connect with God and find creative expression in the church, using a musical language that was contextually relevant to them. It's a movement that continued on with people like Keith Green and Larry Norman, and then well into the 80s with Calvary Chapel's Maranatha music and vineyard churches. Through these mediums, this DNA was passed down and disseminated throughout broader evangelical contexts over the next few decades through churches like Hillsong in Australia and the Passion Movement, which introduced so many of us to songs written by people like Matt Redman and Chris Tomlin and so many others. Now, some of my earliest transcendent experiences, these experiences where I really came to a personal knowledge of God through His Holy Spirit in a way that went far beyond mere head knowledge, were experiences attached to times of musical worship and singing. And I love singing, I love musical worship, and this is what I do, but in many ways, I'm afraid that for many people in evangelical contexts, worship has just become exclusively synonymous with music. And perhaps even more troubling is that worship has become synonymous for so many with a billion-dollar music industry. Well, at First Free Church, we want to affirm the biblical worth of music and singing as worship, which we see throughout the scriptures. And whether it's in David's tabernacle, where so many of the Psalms were composed or sung, or whether it was in the Apostle Paul's instructions to the New Testament church at Ephesus to sing songs, hymns, and spiritual songs, or even when we see it exemplified in the life of Jesus, who sang with His disciples at the Last Supper, which is recorded in Matthew 26, verse 30. In all of this, and all this affirmation of the biblical worth of music, we also want to make sure that we frame musical expression, as well as all other artistic expressions, as just a piece of the larger whole of what worship is all about. To worship something means to ascribe to it worth, honor, and adoration. Throughout the Bible, maybe the place where this is made most clear is in the prophets and gospels and epistles. Throughout those books, there's this truth that we are called to worship, but not just in singing. We are called to ascribe worth, honor, and adoration to the God from whom all blessings flow with the totality of our lives. You know, what we give our time to, our energy to, creative expressions to, our emotions to, and even our words and our bodies to is all a reflection of our deepest internal values. So in our church community, when we talk about being a Christ-centered and Christ-sent people, our goal is that these expressions of our deepest internal values, which again are made manifest in how we use our time, energy, creativity, emotions, etc., that these actually bear the marks of someone living under the influence of the transformative grace of God.